Hi, this is Mark Serrazano from the International Piano Technician School, and this video is a visual explanation of Weinrich drift. Let's look at the pitch of some unison strings as we're tuning the unison. Here is the green line representing a string. There's a string that we've just tuned. And then we're going to add the second string, the blue line. We'll add that to the green line, the first string tuned. They go on in time after a little while. Now we're going to add the third string, the red line. And at the end, we get all three strings at the same pitch as each other, but also at the same pitch that they were when the green line started. So the green line hasn't changed. Whatever pitch the first string was at, the final pitch of the trichord is the same. And that's what you would think would happen, but in fact, that's not always the case. So sometimes you're tuning and you add the second string and the pitch drops. If you tune by ETD, you'll see this all the time. The other thing that can happen is you're tuning and you add the second string and the pitch rises. And there's no way to control or to guess or to estimate or to predict which direction this pitch will change. And sometimes it's up to 2 cents. And another possibility is you tune the first string and you add the second string and everything's fine. Then you add the third string and the pitch goes sharp, or it can go flat. So what's happening? Let's take a look at this diagram of the V bar, which is the yellow triangle to the left. And then on the right, we have the bridge attached to the soundboard. And a lot of people, myself included, have imagined that the string vibrates like this. So in this case, we have the string vibrate and the bridge is not vibrating, but the string is. This is not possible. This can't happen because if the bridge doesn't vibrate, there is no sound. This person has a music box and it's actually running. Right now, the music box is running and you have to listen very carefully to hear the music box making music, but it is making music, but you can't hear it because there's nothing to amplify the sound. And that would be the case here. The bridge is not amplifying the sound. It's not moving at all. And that's the case we have here. The chalkboard is not vibrating. Nothing's happening because the music box is not touching it.
Simply place it up against the chalkboard.
Now, the music box is making noise, but you can't hear it until he places it on the chalkboard. And now it's making noise. So the point of this demonstration is to show you that this is impossible. This is not what's happening in the piano. If it was, we wouldn't hear any music coming from the piano. So what is happening? It's either where the bridge vibrates with the string, or this, where the bridge vibrates against the string. In both cases, the bridge is vibrating. What we notice, though, is that in this case, the effective length of the string that's vibrating is shorter and the pitch would be higher. But for this one, the effective length is longer and the pitch would be lower. So the theory is when we look at these situations where the string is changing its pitch at some point, like here, the two strings are tuned together and everything's fine, and then all of a sudden something happens to make the pitch drop. The theory is that the string was vibrating like this, and then when we added the third string, it changed the mode and made the string vibrate like this. So this was written about by Gabriel Weinrich in his famous article on the coupled motion of strings. And if you go online, you can see his explanation of what's happening to the string with this diagram here, which he calls a springy support and a massy support, where the massy support causes the string to act as if it was a little bit shorter, and that can influence the vibration frequency. And if it's a springy support, that can also affect the vibration as if it was a little bit longer. Gabriel Weinrich uses the terms massy and springy supports. I'm using the description of saying that when the string goes up, the bridge goes up, or when the bridge goes up, the string goes down. And when the string changes its mode, that's when the pitch changes. So that is the visual explanation of Weinrich drift, and it explains why sometimes when you're adding strings to a unison, especially on an ETD, you can see the needle changing all of a sudden, sometimes drastically. If you go to my website, you can find links to some articles that I published in the Piano Technicians Journal, especially this one called Unison Drift. And by looking at this article, we can see a diagram used to illustrate the frequencies of piano strings in some pianos that I was tuning. So here, this Weber Baby Grand on A4, we see that the left string is about minus 1.2 cents. The middle string is about minus 0.5 cents. And the right string is about minus 0.8 cents. And then when I muted the right string and measured the frequency, it came out to about minus 1. That seems to be reasonable. Then when I muted the left string, the frequency of those two together registered about minus 1.1. That's reasonable. And then when I took the mutes out altogether, the frequency registered minus 1.2. That's pretty reasonable, within a reasonable amount of error. Look at this piano. The left is at 0.3, the middle and right are at 0. Mute the right, you get minus 0.2, mute the left, you get minus 0.5. Okay, things are getting a little bit off. And then take the mute out, and it registered at minus 1.5 cents. The pitch dropped a whole cent just for no apparent reason, just by taking the mute out. This is not due to loading the soundboard and having the soundboard move because we just added the string. The tension was already there. The string was just muted, and by removing the mute, the pitch dropped. Professor Gabriel Roy describes and explains why this happens very succinctly with his massy and springy supports, and I'm showing it with the bridge moving with and against the string, and it makes total sense. This one here, we've got three strings about minus 3.6 cents, and then when we mute the right string, all of a sudden the pitch is back and forth, and this could be explained by the possibility that the modes are changing from a long to a short effective length, and then when you mute the right, everything settles down a bit. When you take the mute out, now things are going crazy, changing pitch by as much as 4 cents. For this one here, we're all around 1 cent, and with no mutes, we're ending up with like almost 3 cents. So that's a rise of 2 cents. This one here shows just the general wildness of the resulting pitch caused by possibly the change in the effective vibrating length. This is especially true here where we measure these pitches and they're almost exactly the same. And yet without the mute, something's happening. And if you put the mutes back in and measure each string separately, they come back to measuring like this. It's not once you take the mutes out, all the strings are vibrating like this and changing frequency. No, it is totally caused and controlled by which strings are vibrating. And it might even change. We haven't done experiments where we've changed the muting or gone back to confirm a day later, for example. It's totally unpredictable. So that is a visual explanation of Weinreich drift and why the pitch of unisons can sometimes go up or down or stay the same when you add strings to the single string or the double string to make a completed trichord unison. If you would like to read other piano tuning articles that I've written, fill out the form on this page.